Hi everyone, it's Dot, and Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And if you're looking to make something decadent without all the carbs for your special honey bunny, I have a dish for you. We're making chocolate lava cakes in my low-carb kitchen. Now this particular video is going to actually have two recipes in one, so you get double your viewing pleasure. What we're going to make first is a chocolate ganache, and what that is just simply a chocolate dipping sauce, which is going to go into the chocolate lava cakes. So just so you know where I got this recipe from, it's not mine, and I've mentioned this cookbook before. This is George Stella's The Complete Low Carb Cookbook. It comes straight out of there. I'm doing the recipe verbatim. I've never gone wrong with it, except I did some tinkering with it. It failed miserably, so I decided I'm keeping with this. George, who is a chef, seems to know what he's doing. So anyway, really awesome cookbook. So I suggest you check that out. So what am I using for the chocolate ganache? Well, I'm using a low-carb sweetener. I'm using butter, which is going to be my fat, as well as half and half. And I'm using some nice chopped up, I've already chopped it up, baker's chocolate, which is 100% chocolate. There is no additives, no sugar, nothing. It is pure 100% chocolate. So that's really important. And a little flavoring with some vanilla extract that I'm using as well. Now, for the actual lava cake itself, I'm going to be using butter. I'm using a mix of cocoa and sweetener, some additional sweetener on top of that. Almond flour, you can also use hazelnut flour, which is my preference, but for this, I find almond flour just works really well with it. And also I'm using 2 egg yolks and 2 whole eggs. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get going on this puppy. All right, I've already started buttering my ramekins, and I just basically quartered a tablespoon of butter and put 1 square in each one and buttered the bottoms and the sides. So all I'm doing really is just rubbing the butter along the bottom, and then I'm going to rotate it where I'm just going across the sides, if you can see that. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. The butter is getting slippery. All right, I have my ramekins buttered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cocoa and sweetener, and I'm going to put it in a bowl. I'm going to mix it all together, and you really want to mix it really, really well. All right, I have everything all mixed. What I'm going to do is just going to put a paper towel down there, and I'm going to take each ramekin. Let me create some space so I can do this. And all I'm going to do is take a little bit of the mixture of the cocoa and sweetener, and I'm going to just put it in here, and then you're going to coat the bottom and sides, hopefully you can see that, of your ramekin. Let me put a little bit more in here. So as you can see, I finished up the 4 ramekins, and I had just coated it all the way up, used up all that chocolate and the sweetener. Now I'm going to put these in the fridge until I need them. So you want these nice and cold before they go in the oven. All right, just to give you a heads up, normally I use a different sweetener in all of my baking. However, this is the one I first started with when I went low carb at Xyla, which is an xylitol sweetener. It's made from trees, and it actually behaves just like sugar. It looks like it tastes like it. You can bake with it just like sugar does. It melts when you're putting it over heat. So it's a wonderful thing. You just got to be careful if you have dogs, because this is deadly to dogs if they get a hold of it. So, which is why I stopped using it. But I find when I'm making a ganache, this is the best sweetener I can find. The other ones don't really behave the way I would like them to. So with that, I'll put that aside. What I'm doing now is I'm heating water over a medium-high heat. And what I'm waiting for is getting close. I want it bubbling somewhat. I have in here my version of a double broiler. This is what I use for chocolate, basically. It's not a traditional one. I'm not sealing in the steam, which is what you wouldn't have your double broiler top sitting in the water. This one is, because I'm not trapping the steam. That's fine, but this will work just as well. You can also do your own impromptu one by putting a bowl that is heat-proof over a pot of water. Just make sure it doesn't touch, and as long as there's a seal, it's perfect. It works really well. Or you can use something like a Pyrex glass, because that's heat. It's tempered for the heat. All right, we have a nice simmer going along, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to add the butter. Next up is my sweetener. Then I'm going to add my half and half. Now, all we're going to do here is to start mixing it. You want this all mixed together. So you definitely want that butter to melt. Okay, so as you see, everything is combined together really nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and add my baker's chocolate. And now I'm going to stir. And what you want to melt that chocolate. You don't want any chunks in here. The chocolate's all melted. I took it off the hot burner, so I'm letting it sit here. And at this point, you want to work a little fast because you definitely want this at least definitely warm before it goes into your batter for the lava cakes. But what I'm doing, I'm stirring in the vanilla extract right now. All right, my ganache is done. It's on the stove, still hot. My ramekins are still in the refrigerator, keeping cool. So we're going to get started on the batter. So I'm going to go ahead and put my eggs in a mixing bowl. And remember, that's 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. I'm adding my sweetener. And the next thing we're going to add is just a touch of vanilla extract, again for flavoring. Here we go. Now, always put the lid on because trust me, you will spill it. I've done this enough to know. You're just going to beat this until the eggs are nice and frothy. You're mixing everything together, but the most important thing is you want those eggs frothy. Okay, so my eggs are nice and frothy. I'm going to go ahead and while beating this, I'm going to be basically mixing in my chocolate ganache in this. Perfect. Now we're going to add in the almond flour and mix that all in there. All right, everything is mixed and now we're ready to go ahead and start pouring this into our nice and chilled ramekins. Okay, I have the ramekins up. They're definitely cold and chilled. What I like to do is coat the bottom just a little bit and then I just sort of go, try to keep it as even as possible between them all because you want to make sure you don't have one that's a little too filled more than the others. Okay, my oven's preheated to 400. I'm going to go ahead and put these in and they're going to bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, what you want is you want them springy on the sides. Ooh, that is hot. And you want them springy on the sides and a little bit if I shake them. You want that liquid in the center. I did take one out to test it because I took it out exactly at 12 minutes and I thought it was a little bit too soft. I tried it, it was too soft, but my cameraman enjoyed it. He said it tasted delicious. So I'm going to let this cool down a little bit, but then we're going to go ahead and start plating the dish. All right, now I'm using a grilling oven mitt because this is hot, obviously. But what you want to do is just gently go around the sides and loosen it from the ramekin. And hopefully I'm not puncturing anything. Looks like I just got the outer chocolate layer. Now you don't have to do it this way, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this comes out. You can certainly eat it in the ramekin, just let the ramekin cool off a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually attempt plating this. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But even if it doesn't work, it still tastes good. So let me go ahead and do this. It is slick. Okay, this is very sad. My husband actually has to grab it because it's very, very slippery. And his hands are much stronger than mine to grab this thing. But that's what I'm talking about. And then, now the hole I'm not used to seeing, but I'm going to go ahead and just plug it with a raspberry. That's usually how I serve them. So he's going to go ahead and cut it open. Cut a nice slice, honey. See, and then you have, if you can see that, the nice chocolate right in there coming on out. But this is your lava cake. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hand the camera back to the husband, and I'll be right back. Now the dish is made for 4-ounce ramekins, and I was using 6, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't get a grip on them. And my husband's big, manly hands could do that. So anyway, so yes, he did make a little cameo. But I'm going to go ahead and taste the lava cake. So I want to make sure I get some of that chocolate in there. And it's still hot. I can still see the smoke coming off. So, okay, this is really good. The chocolate just is all throughout the entire dish. And I have to be honest, this is way better than using any type of milk chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate. Using the baker's chocolate and unsweetened cocoa with just a, you know, a portion of the sweetener that you normally would use if you were using sugar just makes this a much richer tasting dish, and also just really mouth-watering. I really just want to dig in and end the video, but there's a lot of, you know, if you're doing 2 recipes at one time, you can make the chocolate ganache a little earlier and just reheat it. You certainly can do that to make it a little bit easier, but it's a nice little dish to make on Valentine's Day. It does have a higher amount of carbs because of the amount of sweetener in it. It's about, and I don't have the details below, but it's probably about a little bit over 6 net carbs per serving. So just keep that in mind. But if you're making it for Valentine's Day for your honey, then, you know, it might be worth it to spend the carbs there. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and also share with your friends. And until next time, I'll see ya. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day.